There's a really nice video from Guy in a Cube who explains what is SCD. This is a particular use case that he explains and how you can model that in Power BI. So SCD is slowly changing dimension. Really well explained how you do that and how to solve that particular SCD use case in Power BI, how he does data modeling there. I will recommend you to go through this. And if you want to model the same SCD use case in Incorta, I'm going to go over that. So this is the raw data. I've taken that raw data from what Guy in the Cube has shared here and used that in Incorta. It's a very simple data model. You have sales table and store table. And store table here in this case is slowly changing dimension. What I mean by that is you have two different stores. And for this particular date range, Adam is the store manager for store 2. And after 8/8, from 8/9 onwards, Patrick is the store manager for store 2. And in case of slowly changing dimension, to store this historical data in terms of what changes has been done in terms of any attribute change in a particular dimension, you store it this way. Now, when you store data this way and you have to do reporting on top of this, there are different scenarios which you have to take care of. So there are two scenarios which we will see how to solve with Incorta. First one here is since Adam was manager for store 2 for this particular period, and if in the year end, if you are giving bonus to the store managers, you should take into account that for this period, Adam should get bonus for whatever sales was there from store 2. And same applies for Patrick also. Now, so there's a join between sales table and store table using this particular key, StoreSk. This is a primary key in this table. In Incorta, you can create a join between this column and StoreSk column in sales table. So this is raw data. Pretty easy to create that join. So I'm assuming whoever's watching this video, you have some basic understanding of how Incorta works. I'll show you a schema also where this join exists. Now, so that particular scenario, the bonus scenario, is once the join exists between this column and this column, these two tables, it's pretty easy to do. All you need to do is just have this aggregated table where you have store manager, group by store manager, store name, and sales amount. And let's say you are allocating 10% of bonus to each manager. So in that case, it will show up, store 2 will show up against store manager Adam, and for store 2, whatever time Adam was manager, he will get the credit or bonus, which is 10% here, which shows up here, right? So store 2 and store 3 with Adam. But now if I go back to raw data, if you look at the current scenario where Adam is no longer manager for store 2, but Patrick is current manager for store 2. Now, if you want to run a query and show me what is the total sales for different store the store manager owns. So in that case, store 2 should only show up against Patrick, not against Adam, because now Patrick is the store manager for store 2. And Adam only owns store 3. So this is what this is showing here. So for Adam, store 3 total sales, and then Patrick, store 1 and store 2 total sales. And then this is showing you sales for store 1, 2, and 3, and then by month. And if I filter it by Patrick, it will show me only 2 stores here that Patrick is currently manager of. And for Adam, this only 1 store, because currently Adam is manager only for 1 store, not 2 different stores, right? So this is what I'm going to explain. How do you do this data modeling in Incorta, where you can take care of both these scenarios, because this requires a little bit of modeling in Incorta. And by the way, if you watch that video in Power BI, they assume that modeling has to be done in the source, which is data warehouse. Anything you change there requires a lot of work in terms of maintaining that script and doing all those changes. Incorta is end-to-end analytics platform, so you will see how you can do that modeling here. So I told you earlier we have 2 tables here, right? So let's go to that schema here and see how modeling was done for this, where I did bonus, and then what changes were done to do this scenario, where who's the current manager and what the total sales is. So for bonus, this is pretty straightforward. You have this schema And if we look at this diagram here, you have store and sales fact. So this is child, this is parent. This is the raw data that are showing you for store and sales fact. Pretty straightforward. Now, to do the other use case, let's talk about this. How do you do this? Now, one way to do this is you have StoreSk. This is surrogate key, which is this one here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Now, one way to do that is create a new StoreSk. You can call it store current SK, and add that column in the fact table. What that means is, since here the StoreSk2 is pointing to this particular row here, it should be pointing to 3, this one here, because now Patrick is the manager for store 2. Just assume there's a new StoreSk column here, and then you add a particular value here which is pointing to StoreSk. None of those will be pointing to 2 in this case, only 3. So 2 will be replaced by 3, and then you already have 3. Once you do that, let's call it store current SK. Once you do that, then you'll be able to do this one, what I'm showing you here, because in that case, Adam only owns store 3, manager for store 3. That's what will show up in this query then, right? So it's pretty easy to write a query in SQL in Incorta. So that's what I've done here. In this table, you will notice that this first query here is getting so this is StoreSk and this is current StoreSk. So this is just getting the current StoreSk, which is the latest StoreSk for a particular store, and returning this. So what this means is, for store 2, this 2 and 3, it will return 3, that query. For 1, it will be 1, 4, it will be 4, but it matters wherever you have this change here for a particular store. And then in Q2, I am getting these columns from fact table, and then there's a left auto join between Q1 and Q2, which is giving me that current StoreSk. So if you execute this, you will see that current StoreSk 1 here. But what is interesting here is the StoreSk, wherever it is 2, it is returning 3 here. That gives me the ability to have this new key, which is not 2 but 3 here, and 3 is pointing to this. So anytime I do that data analysis for show me all the current stores by manager, it will only show me store 2 for Patrick, not for Adam. And so you can create this Incorta SQL table here using the SQL, save it, and then you can have a join between this table and this table as well. So what you will notice here, in this case, if you look at the query plan, this is showing me query plan between sales fact and store. But when I go to sales tab and I look at the query plan here, this is showing me join between this new table that I just created. Now you can say that creating a new table and creating more data in Incorta, I agree with that. That may not be a good scenario if you have huge amount of data in the fact table, like hundreds of millions of records. So other way to do that is using SQL view, which is coming soon. I will model this again using SQL view and share the video.